Greetings, my fellow gamers. I'm Gabriel and you're watching The Gaming Gospel, the show where I preach about the state of the gaming industry and all things gaming related that just pop into my head. Today's episode is just the first part of the great console war between Sony and Microsoft, where I will be tackling the historical events of the great 8-year war between PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. That is to say, the age before them, how games were developed for those platforms, and the major problems that were involved. Moreover, what console was superior and from what point of view, and lastly, which one was my favorite and why. Now, let's get this show on the road because we have a lot to cover. As you all know, the PS4 is nearing the end of its life cycle. But the major heads from Sony publicly announced that support for this platform would carry on through 2021. The entire ruckus behind the upcoming console generation reminded me about the wondrous events that took place way back when the PS4 and Xbox One were freshly unveiled for the mass audience. But our story starts even before the age of PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
PlayStation 2.
So let's turn back the hands of time when Britney Spears was just an innocent teen. People actually cared about the Backstreet Boys, and PlayStation 2 was crushing the console market. In the same regards, in the 2000s, the word DVD was synonymous with the apex of video technology. The only problem was they cost between $700 and $1,200, whereas the PlayStation 2 could play DVDs, run games, and its price tag, only $300. Put these features together and you get a bunch of kids that trick their parents into buying them such a device. Hey, it was for the entire family to use, so no wonder the PS2 practically flew off the shelves. Alongside the hardware advantages, the games were incredible for that time. The Metal Gear Solid series, God of War, Gran Turismo, Ratchet & Clank, and Jak and Daxter made the entire world just go insane for this technical marvel. Oh yeah, and one more thing, it could run games from the PlayStation 1 on it. Odds are that this little feature helped a bit as well. With robust selling engines like video games, hardware, and of course the marketing that came along, the Sony machine sold over 155 million PS2s. That performance remains untouched even to this day. My humble opinion, the PS2 will stay as the best sold console in history. I believe that because with these new mid-generation platforms like the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, there wouldn't be even enough time.
There's never enough time to satisfy a woman.
To sell just one model in such astronomical numbers. But while at Sony, people were popping bottles upon bottles of champagne, or as I personally call them, champagne, in the other camp, the original Xbox was laying the groundwork for the foundation in which Microsoft cemented its legacy in the gaming industry. In turn, it sold over 24 million units. And for a new debutante, freshly out of elementary school, that was struggling to find its own identity in an untrodden market dominated by Sony, it truly deserves praise and a round of applause. Fast forward till 2005 and we bear witness to a real tour de force from Microsoft. Hide your kids, hide your wife, because the Xbox 360 comes onto the main stage. And along with this new console release, the design engineers from Microsoft stepped up their game with the iconical and much beloved Xbox 360 controller, but most and foremost with their improved online service, Xbox Live. They made the latter into an unparalleled ecosystem for that time. Among other features, they introduced stability in online gaming, an achievement system, and monthly subscriptions. Silver, which was free, and Gold that cost $60 or euros per year. For that price, you got major benefits together with free games every month. Meanwhile, the Xbox Live Marketplace was born. Their digital store from where you could download games online. And this was in an era where Half-Life 2 was on 5 discs. Yeah, 5 discs. In the same marketplace, you could have found movies and music. But if that doesn't sound impressive enough by today's standards, let me try to put things into perspective for a bit. In the global technological environment of 2005, Netflix was renting DVDs. Yeah, you heard me, DVDs. Netflix and renting. But the revolutionary online infrastructure wasn't the only card it had up its sleeve. The 360 had in its library the newest and most sought-after megastars from that time. The Halo series, a worldwide shooter phenomenon in both single-player and online multiplayer. Forza Motorsport, that was just the epitome of polish and refinement. Gears of War, where you basically wore an SUV with subwoofers and had a chin that could sink the freaking Titanic. Dave Bautista as Marcus Phoenix, anyone? These being said, the online features and the game's library were powerful weapons it had in its arsenal. But what made this console truly spectacular was the synergy between its hardware and its software. Its internal architecture was really easy to use by third-party companies. By that, I mean the platform-agnostic companies that are not owned by the console manufacturers. And that's what we want, right? For games to be on more than just one platform, or at least let there be crossplay between them. But anyway, so what happened this generation with third-party games? In short, a pretty large number of these were developed firstly on Xbox and then ported to the PS3. That meant that titles like Red Dead Redemption were optimized for Microsoft's console. That's why more often than not, some games looked overall better on the 360 than on the PS3. This alone was one of the greatest advantages it held over the competition. Take all of what I just said and combined made the Xbox 360 a technically superior console. Switching over to the Japanese camp, the PlayStation 3 had serious muscles for that time. So much so that even the US Air Force built a supercomputer made out of 1,760 PS3s. Moreover, Stanford University ran a scientific program where everyone that owned such a console could contribute directly from the sanctity of their own living room to the university's research on Alzheimer's and cancer. But with all the great power and responsibility and whatnot at launch, this good that it brought humanity cost $100 more than the 360. And depending on the model, the difference could have doubled. Besides all that, the cell processor from the PS3 was so complex that it literally discouraged third-party developers to optimize their game on the PlayStation. Sad but true, ladies and gentlemen. And that being said, with all its faults, with all its shortcomings, I can safely say that after I've gone through 2 Xbox 360s, one fat-booted PS3, and the Victoria's Secret slimmer version of it, the PlayStation exclusives were the deciding factor for me. I was just blown out of the water by some of the best games of that generation, like MotorStorm, the Uncharted series, Killzone, Resistance, God of War, Heavy Rain, Infamous, even Little Big Planet. And of course, my all-time favorite, The Last of Us. With titles like these and the subsequent slimmer versions, Sony managed to pull a 180 and got back on track. Now, all of this together made the PlayStation 3 my favorite console for that time. And now, 14 years after the Great War began, the Xbox 360 and the PS3 are basically on the same level. Each sold about 84 million units with a negligible 200,000 in favor from Microsoft. In other words, hundreds of millions of people had cherished memories together, joyful moments alongside their childhood or high school friends that are now probably longing for the days when freedom was their mistress. Not rent or huge bills. For me at least, everything that mattered back then was just to get home from school on Fridays and play video games alongside my best friends on my parents' living room couch. Gone are those days, never to return again. Now, before I end this thing, I want to know what was your favorite between the 360 and the PS3. That being said, I'm out of words. So that's it for the first episode of my Gaming Gospel series. I'm Gabriel and thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe to our channel if you like this video, and never stop gaming, never stop being creative. See you next time.